Welcome back to the channel, everyone. So here we're starting with the analysis for 6th of August 2023. So let's have a look at the important topics for today. So talking about Chandrayaan-3, it is finally in the lunar orbit. And so far, the operations that have been successful. So obviously, you need to just know about little technical things about it. Apart from that, uh, this is going to be important for prelims perspective. And then an update from Pakistan that Imran Khan, he gets a 3-year jail in gifts case and he's been arrested. So leaders, they've been detained in Jammu and Kashmir. So we have been talking about Article 370 as it completes the abolition of Article 370 completes 4 years. So Supreme Court hearings have been going on. We'll be discussing it once we have the final thing in front of us. And that is much more important in this regarding this topic. We have also talked about or we can say we have compared the situation before the abrogation of this article 370 and post the abrogation or the abolition, you can say what improvements have happened in different dimensions, like when you talk about the economy of Jammu and Kashmir, the administration, the security situation, so how all of these things have seen progress with time. Still, you see violence in Manipur, and 5 people have been killed in the fresh violence incidents. So, again, the iteration, the same things: failure of the state machinery, failure of the police, security forces, and all of these things, they still continue. So, what is the solution? That is important. So when we talk about the applications of the artificial intelligence technology in diverse sectors, one of them obviously is health sector. So you can see that here the Prime Minister would be launching the AI-powered contactless digital health app, and there will be screening of 10,000 villagers from the non-communicable diseases. So technology for us, it is a medium to empower the people of the country. For us, technology is the mainstay of making the country Atmanirbhar Bharat. So this is one of the dimensions that how technological advantage it can be leveraged in order to, move towards being Atmanirbhar Bharat. So here, one example is this app and how it would be using this technology. You can see results within 1 minute of looking into the phone camera, and vitals would be recorded in this app, all your health vitals. So this is going to be revolutionary, and it will be taking digital health to the remotest villages of India, and how it can help in diagnosing or treating the non-communicable diseases. It can help in increasing awareness of the people, and obviously personalized medicine at your fingerprints could be made easily available through this. And then it is also talking about AI-based cardiac risk predictor would also be made a part of it, and non-invasive blood testing as well. So non-invasive blood testing, that's again going to be a revolutionary thing. So in Saudi Arabia, basically it is hosting a 2 days of peace conference on Ukraine. So when we talk about the plans of African continent for restoring peace, like they're different, then you need to clearly know about कि India का क्या stand है, and Ukraine officials, they're going to pitch for the support from the global south, how it can play an important role, and apart from the peace measures, what all different steps can be taken by India or global south. And we have also talked about कि कितना amount of reconstruction we will be needing financial amount जब हम यूक्रेन की reconstruction की बात करते हैं. So India is keen to push for the G20 census. So that is one of the challenges जब हम G20 summit के बारे में बात करते हैं, because we are not seeing specifically Russia and China on the same page. So organ shortage, it continues to cost lives. So organ donations के बारे में हम बात कर रहे हैं. So the chart it is showing number of organ donors कितने हैं according to the data from the Ministry of Health. So 2022 में total of 16,000 donations were recorded. So total number of donors it has been plotted on the y-axis. Here we have the time period. So you can see total number of donors, it is increasing in numbers, but again, despite that, we are seeing shortage. So 3 lakh patients, they wait for the organ transplants in the country. However, we are seeing increase in number of the donors, but experts, they say that there is a need to improve the cadaver donation rate, and greater awareness that is also required among the ICU doctors and families on how one donor can save many lives. So this can basically help in improving this shortage situation. Then apart from this, we also seeing कि poor data record maintain किया जाता है. So data from 2022 is showing India's poor record in the okay, this is not from the perspective of data maintenance, but poor record in terms of the cadaver donation. So we have registered around 1,600 kidneys, 761 liver, and 250 heart transplants in the deceased category in 2022. The demand and supply में we are seeing mismatch. Greater awareness can definitely help. जब हम बात करते हैं ICU patients की and doctors which are taking care of them, and again कि families में कितनी awareness है when it comes to organ donation by those patients and how it can save many lives. Like यहाँ पे examples mentioned here, 2 donated lungs mean 2 other patients, they are given a second chance. 1 tissue donor, someone who can donate bone, tendons, cartilage, can save lives of as many as 75 people. So today, India has greater awareness about the organ donation, and doctors, they say more families, they are coming forward, and we are seeing improvement, but we are seeing gradual improvement. तो उसको और catalyze करने के लिए हमें क्या actions लेने की जरूरत है? That is something important which we need to think about. So president says that libraries, they measure the progress of civilizations. So the development of libraries, it was a measure of progress of civilizations, and history was full of references to invaders, considering it necessary to destroy the libraries. So this shows that libraries, they have been considered a symbol of collective consciousness and intellect of a country and the society. So she was there inaugurating the Festival of Libraries, and it acted, we can say that libraries have acted as bridge between civilizations. So this can be brought somewhere in GS paper 4 ethics. So Indian eagle owl, you can find out about what are the other species of owls found in India. So Indian eagle owl, it was classified as a species only in recent years, thus distinguishing it from the Eurasian eagle owl. That's another species. So Indian species is an imposing bird. So slightly larger female can reach total length of 2.5 feet. And apart from this, you can find about the IUCN status, their habitat in India. Data protection bill. This way we have taken up a critical analysis, proper discussion on this. The provisions, who is exempted, what is basically it would be aiming towards and focusing upon, and amendments are focusing upon which all things, and does it actually protect users or not? Basically, what are the challenges or the loopholes that needs to be addressed? So you could just go through it because we have already taken up and discussed this topic in detail before. So Rohini panel's findings ये भी हम पहले discuss कर चुके हैं regarding the OBC groups, their sub categorization, and commission ने क्या examine किया है, findings क्या है commission की, recommendations, can go through it again. So what is the optimism about the Indian startup sector? So there are larger number of people in a large country who've got the competencies to create new and exciting businesses, and it's going to go ahead. It may slow slightly, but it's not going to hesitate. So we are seeing स्पेसिफिकली अगर हम स्टार्टअप इंडस्ट्री की बात करें तो इनोवेशन सेक्टर जो है, इनोवेशंस बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट रोल प्ले करते हैं गिवन हाउ even women they can come forward. So that is one thing. So India, it has seen a significant uptick in the startup activity. अब यूनिकॉर्न्स की बात कर सकते हैं. There has been a slowdown this year caused in part by because of some economic factors like high inflation, macroeconomic factors हैं. However, how basically optimistic is 3 to 5 year outlook for the Indian startup environment? So obviously economic conditions, we can't say कि एक ऐसा point of time जहाँ पे everything would be favorable. कुछ challenges हमेशा exist करेंगे. So that is there. But if we talk about the overall economic condition of India right now, so obviously that is one of the factors which is attracting even investors towards India. So चाहे आप इंडिया की एजुकेशन सेक्टर की एक्सपेंशन की बात करें, the strong education system that exists, and now we're also focusing upon the national education policy, the new education policy, vocational education, skill training, and sports. So there are larger number of people in a large country who've got the competences. आप यहाँ पे demographic dividend की भी बात कर सकते हो, people and how innovation it can play an important role in job creation. Then government ने क्या steps, क्या measures, क्या initiatives लिए हैं in order to aid the growth of startup sector, or we can say the revolution around the startup industry. So that you can find out about. Taking a financial express. So you can see because of Haryana, the violence that has been witnessed, corporates feel the heat. So routines have been hit, specifically the companies, the MNCs located in Gurugram. So precautionary measures, they have been taken. People, they were working from home. And we are seeing IT services, there has been record decline in the net hiring. So कहीं ना कहीं ऑब्वियसली जॉब क्रिएशन पे भी इम्पैक्ट पड़ेगा, अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट माइट इंक्रीज, एंड अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट की अगर हम बात करें तो दैट इज डेफिनेटली वन ऑफ द कंसर्न्स आल्सो इकोनॉमिकली वी टॉक अबाउट द इंडियन इकोनॉमी. So FICCI Cascade, it launches the campaign against smuggling. So FICCI Committee Against Smuggling and Counterfeiting Destroying the Economy, it has launched awareness campaign against illicit trade that impedes the economic growth. So campaign has been titled, it has been titled as Be a Cascader. So it was organized to engage with the people and create more awareness of the detrimental consequences of illicit trade. So आप सोच सकते हो कि क्या detrimental consequences होते हैं of illegal trade या illicit trade activities. So आप बोल सकते हो कहीं ना कहीं it is a concern for the security. Then people might be fooled. Apart from this, जो illicit trade किया जा रहा है और उससे जो पैसा generate हो रहा है तो कहीं ना कहीं it is going indirectly or directly to the terrorist organizations या जब हम organized crime networks की बात करते हैं तो it is in a way fueling these terrorist activities in our country. So that is there, and again black money generate हो रहा है. So all the organized crimes जो हम बात करें transnational crimes इससे connected हो सकते हैं. Tax loss होता है, that is witnessed at around 163%, which has increased between 2010 to 2020. And organized sector में जो job creations हो सकती थी, even they go because of the illegal trade which is happening. And again, illegal trade, if that is human trafficking की तरीके से हो रहा है, या फिर we can say an exotic wildlife species हो रहा है, तो it is also a loss to the biodiversity as well. जो individual industries, businesses हैं, obviously they are also impacted. And negative impact on employment generation, economic growth भी, it is a dual challenge for the government. And also demands additional allocation of resources for the enforcement and the public health measures as well. So these are some of the detrimental impacts of illicit trade. So public charging जो basically if you are traveling when airport तो airport पे जो public chargers लगे होते हैं, अगर आप वहाँ पे use करते हो तो there's a possibility कि it can basically hack your mobile phone or your other electrical devices. So this is called jacking. So how can you protect against this juice jacking? And it remains a potential risk. There are ways to prevent it. So it is mentioned that easiest way is to bring your own charger instead of relying on those which are plugged in the charging stations. Then you need to avoid the public charging stations, especially those you see as high risk. So they are high risk areas, and you can also protect your phone using a USB condom, which is also called a USB data blocker. So it's kind of an adapter that only lets the device be charged, and it then blocks all the data transfer. So there is no possible tampering. So Forest Conservation Amendment Bill की अगर आप बात करें, Multi-State Cooperative Societies Amendment Bill, the GNCTD Amendment Bill, which is related to Delhi, are examples of using parliamentary legislation to impose centralized and authoritarian model of government. So it थोड़ा excess हो गया, ज़्यादा negative हो गया. We can't write such kind of tone or such kind of sentences in the answers. They are excesses that must be undone in the future. So हमारे लिए important है जो हम already we have done this before. फॉरेस्ट कंजर्वेशन अमेंडमेंट बिल के बारे में अगर हम बात करें, डेटा प्रोटेक्शन बिल के बारे में बात करें, तो क्रिटिकल एनालिसिस दैट ऑल्सो इन अ वेरी ऑब्जेक्टिव मैनर इज इम्पोर्टेंट। सो यहाँ पे सारे जितने भी अमेंडमेंट बिल्स प्रपोज किए गए हैं वो सब मेंशन किए गए हैं। सो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल क्या होता है, व्हाट इज कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल? सो इंडिया इज नॉट फार बिहाइंड, यहाँ पे थोड़ा आपको पॉलिटिकल टोन भी नजर आएगी। सो फॉरेस्ट कंजर्वेशन अमेंडमेंट बिल के बारे में बात की गई है, मल्टी स्टेट कोऑपरेटिव सोसाइटीज एंड दिस GNCTD अमेंडमेंट बिल। Coming to Hindustan Times, the Sunday edition. So, transforming 508 railway stations across the country under the Amrit Bharat Station scheme. So, 3 stations in Delhi, they will also be redeveloped. The Delhi Kant Narela and Sabzi Mandi railway stations. So, world class, they would become world class with an investment of rupees 25,000 crore rupees. So again, आपको यही सोचना चाहिए कि when we are talking about redevelopment of the railway stations, तो how uniquely we can do that? क्या new ideas हैं जो हम incorporate कर सकते हैं? Like यहाँ पे mentioned भी हैं segregated entry exit gates, multi-level parking, lift, escalator, executive lounge, waiting areas, travelator, Divyangjan friendly facilities needs to be there. Integration of multimodal connectivity in the redeveloped stations, and that would become a center for socio-economic activities. Opening of the shopping complexes, you can see amenities like roof plaza, shopping zones, food courts, they can be made in order to generate additional revenue. So we've already seen Manipur again. People are dying because of violence. Fresh violence instances again being reported from the state. तो जम्मू एंड कश्मीर की अगेन, जैसे कि आई वाज रेजिंग दैट क्वेश्चन की कितना प्रोग्रेस हुआ है, कितना डेवलपमेंट हुआ है, हाउ मच इट इज मूव्ड फॉरवर्ड इन डिफरेंट डोमेन्स आफ्टर द abolition of Article 370. So new era of digital governance, we have seen unprecedented transparency, accountability, accessibility. So different areas में यहाँ जो initiatives लिए गए, results रहे, that has been mentioned, like curbing corruption through the technology. Beams, it is entire budget allocation which is made online via the budget management application that is called Beams. So financial transparency, then from physical files to e-office, and 35 online services have been launched. Okay, that was in 2019. So 675 services have been launched till 2023. Anytime, anywhere governance, then robust citizen feedback mechanism like rapid assessment systems, and Jan Bhagidari portal. So all the details about the development projects are available online, so that citizens, they're also aware about the developments. So green regulation की अगर हम बात करें, again an important topic from sustainable development. So India's green regulation, it has entered a new era. Environmental norms, they have seen three distinct phases beginning from the British times. So this has been divided into three phases. Pehla, British times. Then two key bills, they've been passed in the parliament this week. But unless we are careful, climate crisis, it will have the last word. So let's understand this article in a little more detailed way. So we'll just try to extract and look for the objective things. So we can say that the modern story of India's forest regulation began from 1853. And here we have the proper details of it. 1853, we made a beginning, India's forest regulation. Then then you need to also think about environmental ethics as well. So we see over the next 4 decades, as the train network, it slowly stretched across the subcontinent, British planners, they plundered India's forests to keep fueling the expansion of the railway sleepers. So this is one thing, or the first instance as an example that you can cite in your answers of growth versus development, that forests were cleared in order to ensure the railway network expansion by the Britishers. Then obviously it led to displacing of the communities and customary laws and undermining local traditions in place for centuries. So great chunks of forest, they were destroyed back then to meet the demand for railway sleepers, because wood was used as a raw material for laying down the railway sleepers. And the Forest Act of 1878, we had the Indian Forest Act of 1865. So finally, we had the Indian Forest Act of 1927. So forests, they became an integral part of the colonial project, where tightening the imperial control over the natural resources and offer in India's forest coalesced at the core of British government's policies. So it basically led to more centralization of power in British hands, and they had more control over the forest produce, which became exclusive preserve of the colonial authorities. So traditional communities, they were basically taken away we can say the power that existed in their hands, and it was concentrated with the colonial authorities. So first phase of interface between government and India's lush forest, one that has passed through three distinct phases in a century and a half, the British era, the early decades of independence, and the last 40 years. So ये तीन तरीके से break कर दिया इसको in terms of time period during British times, then early decades of independence, and the last 40 years. So latest bend on this road, it came this week when we saw the coming up this Forest Conservation Amendment Bill and the Biological Diversity Amendment Bill. So here, the government's imperative for the development and security, the push by industries and businesses to gain maximum commercial value out of the forestry, safeguarding of forest as an ecological imperative, associated conversation around the rights of the forest dwelling community. So all these things have cropped up again, and balance between all these is the most important thing. So when we talk about India's independence, so post 1947, it marked a decisive break for India from the colonial policies in multitude of domains, but environment was not one of them. So environment sector की अगर हम बात करें, the laws that we had, that we were following during the colonial times, we continued with them. So 1927 में though this act it was drafted, but again, जो purpose था, that was imperial plunder. So we continued with it, and the forest under the central government's ambit, a haphazard patchwork of laws ensued after independence. So union government का जो role था, it was merely advisory in nature, and states takeover of the forest that accelerated. So did the decimation of the community rights as well at the same time. So decline in forest हम देख रहे थे, exploitation of the forest resources and the violation of the rights of forest dwellers. So 1970 May, there's an example where an unprecedented landslide, it blocked Alaknanda and ravaged modern day Uttarakhand. So after 3 years, the government, it bagged loggers chugged into the forest of Garhwal, only to find scores of local men and women who were hugging the trees, refusing to cede ground. So this is basically talking about the Chipko movement, and many ways it hastened the end of the second phase. So now when we're talking about 1976, the National Emergency Forest and Wildlife, they were brought under the concurrent list. So the then Prime Minister Indira Gandhi, she directed Samar Singh, who was senior bureaucrat, to craft a draft law, and she focused on, creating a national law for the preservation of forest, and fairly pessimistic about states taking the forest protection seriously. So we had this Article 123, Clause 1 of the Constitution, and there was an ordinance that was promulgated. And we had finally the Forest Conservation Act of 1980. So that reversed the government's focus from timber and revenue to safeguarding the ecosystems. So isse pehle we were seeing focus kya tha, exploitation of forest resources and generating revenue, getting more financial resources. But after this 1980 Act, it shifted more towards safeguarding the ecosystem, safeguarding the forest, protecting the people's forest rights. So it somewhere played important role in building protected forest through various exemptions. But still we see that despite this law, there was illegal timber operations that flourished, and जो blame डाला जाता था, that was upon the local government. So people, they went up to Supreme Court in 1995, taking up this issue. And then talking about the Supreme Court judgment, it set up an omnibus rules that again transformed the environmental legislation in India, and it liberalized the definition of forest to include anything that fits its dictionary meaning, drastically narrowing the discretion that was available with the authorities. So major change 1995 में जो सुप्रीम कोर्ट की जजमेंट के साथ हुआ, जो डेफिनेशन ऑफ फॉरेस्ट थी वो बहुत ब्रॉड कर दी गई. तो जो अथॉरिटीज के पास कॉन्सेंट्रेशन ऑफ पावर था या डिस्क्रिशनरी पावर्स थी, वो कहीं ना कहीं वीकन हो गई, या डिक्लाइन हो गई, या डाइल्यूट हो गई. And apart from this, it expanded the safeguards against unchecked industrial diversion also. It instituted harsh punitive measures against illegal timber operations. So जो different gangs operate कर रही थी, they were rattled. So 1980 का law हमने discuss किया, 1996 की Supreme Court की judgment, and then 2006 में we had this Forest Rights Act, which restored the rights of the forest dwelling communities. So it formed the third phase of the environmental regulations, third stage. So 1980 law, 1996 judgment, 2006 Forest Rights Act. So it marked decisive shift away from revenue and agriculture focused policies to ones that understood कि ecosystem की भी अपनी खुद की importance होती है. So rules were made to protect large chunks of India's forest and brought the tribes people into the conversation on conservation. But still, कुछ problems अभी भी continue होती गई. That includes the top-down approach. It meant that there was very little attempt made at democratization. So still concentration of power with the higher authorities that continued. And जो local politicians they were violating these regulatory regimes. चाहे आप यहाँ पे हरियाणा में अरावलीज डिस्ट्रक्शन इसके how they were destroyed इसकी बात करो. And industries they also complained कि जो law थे they were too onerous and जो governance gap exist कर रहा था it meant that there were never any genuine efforts नहीं लिए गए at resolving contradictions of historical ownership, building a uniform people backed policy and updating the records. So ये कुछ problems थी which continued. So आप अगर बात करो ease of doing business की, developmental projects, national security के perspective से जो strategic concerns थे, they took more center stage, tilting the balance of power firmly towards government and the mega projects. So despite having the law, the Supreme Court judgment, इसके बाद भी we saw कि कहीं ना कहीं the balance of power it remained more tilted towards the government and we can say in a way we were seeing again यहाँ पे भी element of crony capitalism. So आज के टाइम में अगर हम climate crisis की बात करें, so we are already suffering from the impacts of climate change and policymakers, if they are not judicious in their attempt to tinker with the ecosystems, the extent of damage it can be unmitigated. And if we don't strike a balance of our own will, climate will make the decision for us. And वो situation ऐसी हो जाएगी that things would be irreversible. So this was a very, very important article. इसमें पूरा trace किया गया है from the British times. क्या हमारे environmental norms रहे, कैसे laws बने and क्या फिर Supreme Court judgment रही, उसके बाद भी क्या challenges रहे, क्या problems हैं. Finally, coming to the last newspaper of the day, the Indian Express. So let's take up some different topics from here. So we talk about sports. So 17-year-old from Satara is the youngest world champion in compound archery. So sports is specifically ethics के paper के लिए बहुत important role play करते हैं. The case studies and all of that. So cheetah project falters. So being fed in the wild, their prey being poached, the collar wounds, they are not monitored. So पूरा status यहाँ trace किया गया है since they arrived last September in India. So Namibia से we had around 8 cheetahs. So effectively 5 are left. Like total we are having, we brought in or translocated 12 cheetahs and Namibia से only 5 are left. 12 cheetahs हम लेके आए from South Africa and 7 are left out of it. So 12 and then 12, around 24 cheetahs were translocated to India from Africa. And now we are only left with 12. So BharatNet project is there to connect 6.4 lakh village panchayats with the last mile broadband link. तो ई गवर्नेंस में हेल्प करने वाला है, अगेन फाइनेंशियल इंक्लूजन में भी कहीं ना कहीं हेल्प होगा, डिजिटाइजेशन की हम बात करते हैं. सो दैट इज देयर. यहाँ पे वी आर यूजिंग द पीपीपी मॉडल, बट अगेन यहाँ पे दिस मॉडल इट फेल्ड टू अट्रैक्ट मच ऑफ इंटरेस्ट. सो यहाँ पे समझने की जो चीज हमारे लिए इम्पोर्टेंट है दैट इज कि पीपीपी मॉडल के हम हमेशा इजीली मेंशन कर देते हैं, बट अगेन ऐसे प्रोजेक्ट में पीपीपी मॉडल क्यों नहीं वर्क करेगा या व्हाई द प्राइवेट सेक्टर डिडंट शो मच इंटरेस्ट, वो समझना इम्पोर्टेंट है हमारे लिए. So MHA notice to IS officer over the power subsidy misconduct. So you can understand this as a case study. So Ministry of Home Affairs, it has issued a notice to the former Additional Chief Secretary of Delhi, Satya Gopal, after he allegedly circulated a cabinet note with a different proposal to release 50% subsidy directly to two discoms. So this resulted in undue benefit of rupees 1150 crore rupees to these companies. So again, you can connect it with the corruption because the topics that are directly mentioned in the ethics paper, kainagi, you can gain a lot through these case studies. So education sector की बात करें, the steps initiatives have been taken in the state of Haryana. So can talk about tablets distribute किए गए under the e-adhigam scheme. Bunyad program के through we started to encourage and promote science subjects, career counseling, and then digital public libraries. मॉडल संस्कृति सीनियर सेकेंडरी स्कूल्स बनाए गए, सोलर पैनल, स्मार्ट क्लासरूम्स, मॉडर्न डुअल डेस्क अवेलेबल, स्पेशल कोचिंग्स टू द मीडियोकर स्टूडेंट्स अवेलेबल कराई गई, एंड सुपर एनडीए प्रोग्राम प्रोविजंस व्हिच इज मेड फॉर 100 स्टूडेंट्स. सो दिस इज फ्यू मेजर्स दैट वर टेकन. सो आपको अगेन मतलब पता ही है एजुकेशन सेक्टर पे, हेल्थ केयर सेक्टर पे जो बेसिक टॉपिक्स है वहां पे आपको थोड़ा यूनिक पॉइंट सोचने की जरूरत है. सो अगर हम नेपाल की बात करें, सो नेपाल टिल्ट टू इंडिया शुड नॉट बी एट चाइनाज कॉस्ट. सो यहाँ पे अगेन इंडिया के लिए क्या कंसर्न्स है व्हेन वी आर सीइंग इंक्रीज्ड एंगेजमेंट ऑफ चाइना इन नेपाल, किन एरियाज में इट इज एंगेजिंग या इन्वेस्टमेंट या फंड्स प्रोवाइड कर रहे हैं, एंड हाउ वी कैन इंश्योर कि अगेन नेपाल इट डज नॉट गेट इनटू द चाइनीज ट्रैप ऑफ डेड डिप्लोमेसी अगेन. So Nepal landlocked country होने के बाद again it faces with the challenges. One side we basically it has China, on the other side it is surrounded by India. So in the past, you can, just find out about ki India-Nepal relations kya rahe hain, and then again concerns भी specifically geopolitics है उससे related. We have been seeing कि जो prime ministers है, they have been changing very quickly in Nepal. So we see that there's such a situation. It is not ideal for the Himalayan country, which has long pursued a non-aligned foreign policy with China. And so talking about right now, Prachanda is the prime minister. So we are seeing right now visible tilt towards India. So it will anger China. So उसको कैसे अब नेपाल tackle करेगा, that is important. So SEBI ने ऑनलाइन डिस्प्यूट रेजोल्यूशन सिस्टम अनाउंस किया है एंड ये कैसे वर्क करेगा, सो उसको समझते हैं. So it will involve the institutions, conciliators, arbitrators for the capital market. So it would be streamlining existing dispute resolution mechanism in the securities market. And so a common ODR portal बनाया गया है. It will harness the online conciliation, online arbitration की जाएंगी for resolution of disputes. So institutions mentioned किए गए हैं are going to act as ODR institutions. So जो market infrastructure institutions हैं, they will identify and they will impanel one or more independent ODR institutions. So ये institutions, they will be qualified conciliators and arbitrators. And जो market infrastructure institutions हैं, they would be in consultation with the impaneled ODR institution, establish and operate a common ODR portal. So specified people or institutions, they can act as ODR institutions. And agar jo eligibility conditions, obviously after qualifying them, they can go ahead. So investor या कोई client should first take up the grievance with a market participant by lodging a complaint directly with the concerned market participant. And again, अगर आपकी complaint unresolved रहती है, you're not satisfied with the resolution, so then you can basically escalate the same through the scores portal. And after you've basically exhausted जितने भी options आपके पास available थे, so still if you're not satisfied या आपका dispute resolution नहीं हुआ है, so you can basically initiate the dispute resolution through the ODR portal. So first step होगा conciliation, and if this fails, so next step होगा arbitration. So that's all for today. Thank you for joining us, and I hope that you're clear with the topics and the points that we raised and discussed today. Do subscribe to the channel, and also do not forget to hit the like button.